Hello everyone. I'm glad to see you on my channel. The story I'm going to tell you today is pure. It is true that all the bad things that happen in life happen for a reason. It is said that we can appreciate the good things, the things when they happen to us. I hope you enjoyed this story. I wish you a pleasant viewing experience. Lily and her best friend Jennifer wandered through the clothing aisles of the market and picked out a dress. The woman went to try on another outfit, and a minute later, frustrated, she walked out of the fitting room. What a horror! Look at this, Jennifer. The fabric is cheap, like gauze, just translucent. Sit somehow. No, look. How can you wear that to your son's wedding? And in an expensive restaurant. My friend examined the outfit skeptically. You're right. It's no good. It's a pity. Money's tight. You're still young, Lily, and you've got a figure you can't get enough of, and I wish I could go to a brand store right now. They'd be sure to pick out a great dress for you. Take this nightmare off. Let's get out of here. Lily changed into jeans and a t-shirt, and she and her friend wandered home. She kept cringing. We're a week away from the wedding, and I have nothing to wear at all. You could go naked. I spent all the money on a suit for my son, an expensive, stylish one. And he looks so good in it, and the matchmakers want me to pay my share for the wedding. That's a lot of money, and I have to give the young people something. I can't stop thinking about it. Did you have to order such an expensive restaurant? We could have a simpler wedding. What am I supposed to do? I'm torn between work at the car wash and part-time jobs, and I'm still short on money. Jennifer suddenly said, there's only one way out. Take out a loan, and then you will pay it back slowly. I would help. But you know, I have a husband, a sick mother-in-law, and 2 children, and everything is on my neck. Lily really perked up. That's right. You're ahead, Jennifer. Why didn't I think of that before? I'll go right now. All right, bye. I'll talk to you later. A woman entered the bank. The guard at the entrance critically examined her. He knew at once that she lived below average. Lily was a woman of old, worn-out jeans, cheap loafers, and a plain t-shirt from the same sale, though she still looked pretty cute and attractive. Lily asked the guard seriously, "Good afternoon. Can you tell me where the credit department is? I want to get a loan from your bank." The guard showed her where to go and helped her get a ticket to an employee. Lily began to show her documents, told her where she worked, and voiced the amount of money she needed. She explained that her son was getting married and needed money urgently. And then she would surely pay it all back. And then she was disappointed. She was refused a loan. The woman explained, "You have to understand, your income is minimal, and you are asking for a huge amount. Only the monthly payment will be almost equal to your official salary. And what will you live on? Naturally, you will start to pay arrears, and then collectors will come to you. I can't approve such a big loan. I'm sorry. If you want, you can try to go directly to our director. Explain the whole situation to him. Sometimes in exceptional cases, he'll say yes. You should go down the corridor, then the 3rd door on the left." Lily was terribly upset, and barely able to hold back her tears, she staggered toward the office. The secretary took her documents and told her to wait. After a couple of minutes, a nice middle-aged man jumped out of the office like a scalded man and stared at Lily. He almost shouted, "Is that really you? It's the same face, only the first and last names are different." Lily did not understand anything, went into the office and sat down in a chair. The principal began to explain everything. "When I looked at your passport photo, I could not believe my eyes. The woman, your exact copy 3 years ago, rented a safe deposit box for years to come and opened a deposit in our bank, a solid one, and disappeared, never showed up. All her belongings are there, and there's a lot of interest. Maybe she's your sister or a relative? Does the last name Davis ring a bell?" Lily twisted her head. "Not at all, and I have no relatives either. I live with my adult son. My mother died a long time ago. So I don't know exactly who it could be. Maybe you got the wrong person. Well, it happens. So what about my loan? Will you approve it for me? I really need the money right now. I promise I'll pay you back on time. Every penny. The director frowned. Unfortunately, no, Lily Jackson. I'm sorry. The amount you're asking for is too much. You can't afford to pay it back. But I can give you the woman's coordinates. Believe me, you're the same person. There can be no mistake. I have an excellent visual memory. Especially, I have just compared you to the photo which is taken before opening an account at our bank. If suddenly it turns out that you are her close relative, maybe she will help you with the money. Taking the piece of paper with the address, Lily thanked the principal faintly and got even more upset. No money, no credit. How was the son and the matchmakers rich to face? She sat down on the bench and began to go over her childhood and youth, remembering everything that had happened to her. Lily grew up with her mother in a small town. Her father never existed, and she knew nothing about him, and her mother was stubbornly silent when she asked about him. They lived hard, saving money on everything. Her mother worked as a nurse in an orphanage, was very kind and open. She loved her daughter more than life. She would not buy anything for herself, but she would always bring Lily a little present. The woman tried her best to make sure that the child was not worse clothed and shabby than the others, but it turned out with great difficulty. The salary was a penny. Lily loved her mother very much, pitied her, and tried to help around the house. Not to upset her with bad grades, she did well in school. But secretly, all my childhood girl dreamed of leaving this run. Down, down, dirty town away, in the capital. That's where real life was. Beautiful high-rises, lots of work, not like at home. After finishing school, Lily was on her way. But then her mother fell ill. She had been complaining of weakness for a long time, eating very poorly and going straight to bed when she came home from work. My mother kept having a fever, low but constant. In the end, when the woman suddenly had a nosebleed in the kitchen, a frightened Lily called an ambulance, and Mom was taken to the hospital. What followed was a long examination and endless tests, and a disappointing diagnosis. The doctor was really competent. He encouraged Lily, saying, "Don't give up. We need to fight." They began chemotherapy for my mother, but with each passing day, Lily saw how quickly her loved one was fading. She looked into the faded eyes and sharpened facial features, kissed her mother's hands and smiled cheerfully, setting her up for the best, and then she left the room and just howled with grief. Lily understood that her mother had very little time left. That is why she almost never left her side, getting strong painkillers from acquaintances to relieve her suffering, and trying to give her mother as much time as possible. The treatment never worked, and 6 months later, Mom was gone. Lily was in unbearable pain. Grief tore at her soul and body, and after the funeral, the girl immediately left for the capital, without thinking twice. Being at home, where everything reminded her of her mother, was simply unbearable. The huge city stunned the girl with its noise and power. Streams of cars and crowds of people rushing about their business, and such beauty all around. Well, this is my dream come true. I'm going to get lucky here, thought Lily. At first, and indeed everything worked out just fine. She managed to find a clean room, got a job as a waitress in a cafe entresol. She worked hard for 14 hours a day, tired from the first experience, and still she was happy, because the pay was good, the tips were generous, but then they were divided among them all, and they often gave bonuses for a well-run banquet or a wake. 6 months later, Lily was running from work as usual, but that day everything seemed to be going wrong. It was raining outside, the bus broke down halfway, and she stumbled and twisted her ankle. She was bent over from the sharp pain, when suddenly she was pelted from head to toe with mud from a puddle. The girl almost cried, "Oh, come on! Today is clearly not my day." Suddenly, an expensive car backed up and stopped in front of her. A young, very good-looking guy got out of the car and said, "Girl, I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. There's a pothole in the road. A tire hit it." Lily tried to scrub off her light-colored soaked raincoat and muttered, "Come on now, what? I had a bad day this morning. The bus broke down. I twisted my ankle and now you've bathed me from head to toe." The guy suddenly smiled. "My name is Matthew. And you're even prettier when you're angry and wrinkle your nose. Tell you what, why don't I give you a ride home? Make it up to you, so to speak. I don't mind. You're soaking wet. You'll catch cold." The girl looked up at him with her blue eye and agreed, "And then I'll go along with it. My leg is swelling up before my eyes, and it hurts a lot. Let's go to the drugstore for a minute, okay? I'll get some ointment. By the way, my name is Lily." It was so warm and comfortable in the cabin. The heater was working, and Lily quickly warmed up. The guy pulled up outside the drugstore and said, "I'll be right back. Wait here. I'll be quick." But in fact, he was gone for quite a long time. Lily was getting worried. But Matthew came at last and just stunned the girl. The guy handed her a delicate bouquet of violets and a large glass of hot and fragrant coffee. And in the bag were ointments and painkillers. He smiled. "I'm sorry for making you wait so long. I just couldn't make up my mind at the flower store which bouquet to choose. Here, I like these delicate violets. They look like you. So am I forgiven?" Lily blushed. She was very pleased with the attention, and she answered, "Thank you. The bouquet is wonderful. I really love violets. And the coffee is wonderful. I'm very pleased. How much do I owe you for the medicine?" The guy took her hand. "One date. I can't let you go like this, Lily. You're special. You're not like the others. You have a certain natural charm and a lot of charm. I was thinking of going to see a new rock band play at a club this week. Would you care to join me? The guys are very creative and talented. You'll love them." Lily agreed. She was already crazy about her new suitor. Matthew seemed like a wonderful prince. She thought about him day and night, especially since it was her first love. And so their romance spun. Matthew was gentle and caring, whispering such beautiful words, talking about the love of fidelity, and one day invited her to his home, to a country mansion. The boy's parents had gone to an acquaintance's house for the weekend. Lily was struck by the beauty and luxury. They drank champagne and walked through the shady alleys, then watched a romantic comedy, and of course they could not resist and whirled in the abyss of passion. They fell asleep cuddling, but waking up was harsh. Lily jumped at the scream of a woman she didn't know. "Son, get up now. What's going on? Have you started taking street girls home? It's an embarrassment to the world. This is a decent house, not a brothel. Robert, come and see what your offspring is doing. Why are you standing in the doorway?" Matthew tried to reason with his mother. "Mom, please come out and don't yell. We need to get dressed. Lily is not a street girl. She's my fiancée. I love her and we're getting married soon. It's all right. Stop this ugly scandal. I'm not 17 years old after all." Naomi Parker shouted, "Yes, I see you're a very decent girl. She's not even in a decent house and she's spreading her legs. I don't want her around here in half an hour. Is that clear? And we'll talk to you in person afterwards. You're such a grown-up. You're still a student yourself." Lily sobbed and dressed frantically. She was terribly embarrassed. She had been so embarrassed, but the situation was certainly unpleasant. Matthew called her a cab and comforted her as best he could. "Lily, darling, don't cry. Please calm down. It's all my fault. I didn't know my parents were coming back today. They said they were going away for 2 days. I'm sorry. Mom just got upset. I'll talk to her. I'll explain everything. She's an emotional person, a hothead. She'll be fine. You'll see." But Lily knew it wasn't going to get any better. And so it was. Naomi Parker hated her fiercely, and when she found out that she was a common waitress from the provinces, without a place to live and registration, parents began to put pressure on their son to give him a scandal and demand that he broke up with a beggar. Son, listen, we have a decent family. Many people know us in the city. Such prominent girls are looking at you. Why are you stubborn like a sheep? I don't understand. I understand youth hormones. You've had your fun with the girl, and that's enough. I know how these provincial girls are. You'll see she'll soon announce that she's pregnant, and that's it. We'll have to register her with us. It's a well-known scheme to get money out of a rich guy. But Matthew turned out to be a tough nut to crack and didn't go along with his parents, and the couple continued to date and love each other anyway. Then Naomi Parker tried to threaten Lily that if she didn't leave her son, it would only make things worse for her. But that didn't work either. The girl firmly replied, "Believe me, I love your son. Not for money or self-interest, just like that. And I want to be with him, and so does he. Why do you hate me so much? This is our life, and please stay out of it." Matthew's mother hissed angrily, "Look here, you cheeky girl. You asked for it. If you don't want a good way, you'll get a bad way. Is that clear?" And Matthew is a 5-minute economist. We're respected businessmen, and I will not let this shameful wedding happen. We don't want a poor daughter-in-law. You don't even have a degree. However, after this wild scandal, everything fell silent for a while. The lovers even exhaled, thinking that their parents had come to terms with their decision. But they didn't. One day, there was a big banquet at the Entresol Cafe, a corporate party of a famous organization. Lily, as usual, served the whole. She deftly flitted between the tables, smiling politely at everyone and changing plates and utensils. And then one of the guests, a brutal bearded man, began to behave quite inadequately. He winked at Lily, tried to pinch her sidewall, sent air kisses, ordered songs for her, announcing it in public, and most importantly called her lover. Lily was angry. She hated it terribly, but her mistress whispered to her, "Shut up. He's drunk and won't remember anything tomorrow anyway. But he pays generously. He has bought half of the bar already, over and above what he ordered. And I don't need a scandal." The next night, Lily was in for a huge scandal. The wife of the bearded man who had been hitting on her came running into the cafe, screaming in front of everyone, calling Lily a tramp, and shoving pictures and videos of the banquet in her face, where her husband confessed his love for Lily to the entire room. Matthew had the same pictures and videos, and he accused his fiancée of all the deadly sins. "How could you? I loved you, didn't I? I thought you were just mine. And now you're sleeping with married men. Look at the way your lover boy looks at you, devouring you with his eyes. It's disgusting. Your mother was right. You provincial girls don't care who you sleep with, as long as you get a foothold in the capital. I don't want to know you anymore. Get out of here." Lily cried, begged to be heard, tried to explain that she had nothing to do with it and didn't know the man at all. But it was no use. It seemed to her that everything that was happening to her was some kind of wild nonsense. A play. The hostess, afraid of the gossip, also asked Lily to leave, even though she knew she had nothing to do with it. But the reputation of the place was more important. It was only when Naomi Parker came to see the poor girl that she realized whose handiwork it was. The woman smirked slyly. "What did you think of the play, dearie? I went to drama school for a reason, didn't I? Are you happy now? I got fired from my job and my fiancé dumped me. So you tried to touch my son and I'll wipe you out. And the Nicholsons are very nice people. They just needed money, so they helped me." Lily was murdered, crushed, disgraced, and humiliated. It was as if she had been dipped in a bucket of slope. How to live and what to do, she had no idea. More importantly, she loved Matthew so much, and it hurt her that her fiancé wouldn't even look into it, but believed the pictures. A month later, Lily was horrified to discover that she was pregnant. She took the test twice and got 2 lines. The girl was in shock. She didn't know what to do now. There were even bad thoughts, but the stern, gray-haired doctor scolded her like a schoolgirl. "What are you doing, my dear? Do you think it's just like that?" "No, I don't. First of all, you're killing your own child with your own hands." Yes, it's already a child, albeit a small one. Secondly, such an intervention in many cases leads to childlessness, inflammation, and other possible complications. Think about it. Sooner or later, the problems will go away and the baby will be with you all his life. This is your support, the meaning of life and support. But it is up to you, of course. If you do not change your mind by Monday, I will write you a referral for tests and procedures. Have a good day. Lily sobbed as she made her way to her room when her neighbor, old Aunt Gwen, saw her. She knew immediately that something very serious had happened to the girl. She silently took her to her room, sat her down at the table, and gave her a double dose of sedatives. "You, Lily, don't cry. Come on, drink and tell me what's wrong. Anything I can do to help. You're a good girl, I see." And Lily, not expecting herself, told the older woman everything, and about Matthew and the pregnancy, and the fact that he was fired from his job for nothing. The pensioner was silent for a long time. Then she said, "You, my dove, don't be a fool. Don't do anything sinful. The child has nothing to do with it. And your abusers will get back all the tears you cried, you'll see. Forget that fiancé. If his mother is such a snake, she will not let you live anyway. Think of the baby and have it. I'll help you. I live alone anyway, no relatives, no kids either. I was a fool like you once too. We'll manage. I'll ask around, maybe you can work unofficially as a cleaner, and then you'll have a baby. You'll find something better. What are your years?" So Lily lived all her life in that room with her son, and in the beginning Grandma Gwen helped her a lot, looking after Andy when she was on shift. Lily had worked odd jobs as a car washer, dishwasher, and part-time cleaner just to get by. She struggled to get by, but still got her son back on his feet and raised a handsome son. She even taught him at university. It was very important to her that her son get a good profession and not to flounder around like she did. And recently Andy had met Michelle, his fiancée. She was not an easy girl from a well-to-do family. Her parents were medium-sized businessmen with several market stalls. Lily treated Michelle well, considered her almost a daughter. After all, she remembered perfectly well the intrigues that her own failed mother-in-law had built for her in her youth. But Michelle's parents were unbearable. These snobs insisted on a wedding at a fancy restaurant and demanded to pay for half the banquet. My son also asked his mother to be at the wedding. It was very important to him, but no one told me where to get the money for it all. I don't give a damn. Some kind of vicious circle. The woman came home, called Jennifer, and told her about the story of the similar missing woman at the bank. "You'd better get the loan approved than to tell me fables." So he gave me her address and last name. So what? Does that make me feel better? But my friend started gibbering. "You what, Lily? Go tomorrow and find out. You never know. You got nothing to lose. What if that woman really is your kin? And you didn't know about it. It's just like in the movies. It's so interesting. Call me later and tell me all about it." Lily listened to her friend, and after her shift at the car wash, she drove to the address. It was far out of town. The mansion was well built and beautiful, old-fashioned with monograms and heavy oak shutters. The grounds were well manicured with shrubs and flowers everywhere. Lily rang the doorbell of the gate. A gaunt, intelligent-looking elderly woman emerged on the threshold. She wore a light coat and neat boots and carried a cane. She was obviously going for a walk. Lily said hello. "Good afternoon. My name is Lily Aniston. Would you excuse me? May I come in? Here's the thing." "Oh, are you okay? Are you all right?" Pensioner staggered and began to fall to the ground, rolling her eyes. Lily was frightened and panicked, screaming and calling for help. At her cry, the owner of the house, a man in his 70s, ran out. He took one look at Lily and began to cross himself. He whispered something unintelligible. He took his wife in his arms and carried her into the house. The man began shoving smelling salts under his wife's nose. "Elizabeth, wake up. Come on, don't scare me like that." The older woman came to her senses, looked at Lily again, and wept. "Daughter, you've been found. What a joy. My prayers have reached God. Let me give you a hug, honey. Mark, it's our Lily she's finally found." The man crossed himself once more. Thank God. I was beginning to think that Krista had come back from the dead. I almost collapsed next to you myself. "Come in, my daughter. Have a seat." Lily blinked, unable to get over the shock. "I don't understand anything. What daughter am I to you?" "My last name is Aniston. My mother's name was Amelia. She died years ago. I don't have any other relatives. Explain everything, for God's sake." Elizabeth Davis wiped away a tear and began to talk. "Mark and I have been working hard together all our lives since we were students, and we started our own business from scratch. At first we had a sewing cellar, where I myself also sewed day and night, no conditions. Then we opened an atelier, and then a full-fledged production and a fashion house. The doldrums of the 90s came. It was a terrible time, with bandits and crooks all around. I just got pregnant and had twins, you and Krista. I couldn't wait to see a picture of you and your sister as babies. Look at how funny you were, and how you look exactly alike. I only knew that you, Lily, had a distinctive mole behind your ear. Krista didn't. You were just a year old when the accident happened. The competitors decided to intimidate us and take all our property. It was a very profitable business. We were making jeans and they were selling like hotcakes. We wouldn't give it up. It's a shame to just give up their baby. So much effort and labor had been invested in it. And then they stole our daughter, you, Lily. While I was walking, 2 thugs swooped in out of the blue. I just managed to grab Krista out of the stroller before they pushed me aside, and I hit my head hard on the pavement. Passersby ran to the noise, but the rascals had already swung over the fence and fled in a car. And then Mark and I were blackmailed that they would kill you if we didn't agree to it. Of course, we were very frightened. We went to the police. We agreed to all their terms right away. The child is more expensive. But while the police were out there on an operation to catch the scoundrels, they were themselves killed in a gang-related shootout. And that was the end of it. We never got our baby back. I cried my eyes out. I believed and hoped that one day they would bring you back and you'd be alive. What I was most afraid of was that those bastards had just killed you. That's what the police told me, that there was no chance of seeing you alive. But you can't cheat a mother's heart. I felt you were alive. Lily was in shock. But what about my mother? I grew up in a family for as long as I can remember. But my mom was a nanny at the orphanage. Did she really adopt me? Elizabeth Davis nodded. I think that's what happened. The bandits didn't need the baby anymore, and I guess they couldn't bear to kill an innocent child. So they probably dropped you off at the orphanage. Your mother had already adopted you. Lily still didn't understand. Well, let's say. And the name Lily. How did she know that was my name? I mean, if I was only a year old, I obviously couldn't tell her my name yet. Elizabeth Davis grinned. You and your sister had gold pendants around your necks from birth. Your father gave them to you. They were specially made to order. There was a flower and the names, Lily and Krista. We all laughed about how we couldn't tell which was which. I guess that's why they gave you your name at the orphanage. And the pendant, God knows, maybe some of the staff pocketed. Now you'll never know. My God, my daughter. How glad I am that you found us. This is just some happiness. Lily asked again, well, where's Krista? What happened to her? Where did she go? Elizabeth Davis cried again, sighed, and began to tell her story. Until she was 16, Krista grew up to be a smart and obedient girl, and we couldn't have been happier. She was a good student, and she loved and respected us. And then it was like a demon got into her. One fiancé after another, and then another, and what a lot of them. It was like she was choosing all kinds of bullies on purpose. We fought with her and tried to talk sense into her, but she did not want to listen to anything. At university, she barely made it through. She barely finished, and all she had in mind was partying. She was in no hurry to go to work either, saying why, if she had enough money to pay. My father and I hoped that my daughter would be our helper. She would understand and continue our work, especially since she was a designer by profession. And then Krista found herself a crook and a swindler. We didn't like this Justin from the start. He was a big liar and a weasel. All paced around the house and asked if we have the original paintings on the walls, if there were other antiques, lied out loud that he was rich, but we are not a rarity. All double-checked, turned out to be a regular gigolo. He was looking for rich fools and tricked them into money. We tried to explain this to our daughter 100 times, but all in vain. She said she loved Justin, and then she ran off with him, and at the same time took the grandmother's family jewelry and money, and a very significant amount. She simply stole it. My father was very angry at first. He swore at her, and he even became ill with heartbreak. It was a betrayal, a knife in my back from my beloved. But then we forgave her. She was our daughter after all. We decided that if it was her choice, so be it, and the money will come in handy. We'll earn it. Since then, we hardly spoke to each other. It was like a wall had grown between us. Then 3 years ago, we got a call from the hospital that Krista was in serious condition. We rushed there. It turned out that the good-for-nothing fiancé had squandered half the money and left our daughter. She was ashamed to go home. She lived alone in a rented apartment, and then she got seriously ill and was taken to the hospital. We forgave our daughter, treated her with the best doctors, surrounded her with warmth and care, but all was in vain. She neglected the illness, and our girl melted like a candle. She died so young. How terrible it is when parents outlive their children, and unfair. After our daughter's funeral, my husband and I were devastated. The meaning of life was gone. I went to church often, praying and asking God to find you, Lily, by some miracle, and now I've been heard. And you're back. Tell us about yourself now, honey. Are you married? Do you have kids? How did you find us after all these years? Lily sighed. My life wasn't easy either. I had to go through so many ordeals. My mother died early in my arms. She never even admitted that I was adopted. But she loved me so sincerely that I could not even think of such a thing. And then I left town. I was in love with a rich guy. But my mother-in-law so hated me that I was a poor waitress and not a couple of their son that she managed to break us up. And after we broke up, I found out that I was pregnant. I even wanted to commit a sin. Thank God good people talked me out of it. Then my son Andy was born. That's how we've been living together. I've been working 3 jobs my whole life. I wash dishes in the cafe, work part-time at the car wash on weekends, and I also sweep the yards. All for my son, all for him. Andy's in his last year of economics. And then I met this girl, Michael. They're in love, but the daughter-in-law's parents aren't easy. So they hated me, and they don't like their son either. They say he's not a promising groom from a poor family. The young couple wanted a modest wedding. But no, the matchmakers insist on a lavish wedding in a restaurant. Everything is booked. They want me to pay half the money for the banquet. And I spent all the money I had saved up on a suit for my son and on rings. I have nothing to wear myself, if only to cry, and no money to pay. So I went to the bank yesterday out of despair and wanted to get a loan. They said no, but they found out I look a lot like that woman, Krista Davis, and they gave me your address. That's how I found you." Elizabeth Davies just threw up her hands. "That's how lucky we are to have a grandson, and the wedding is coming up. Don't worry, daughter. Now we'll give your matchmakers a thrashing. We'll give them such a surprise they'll be quiet for a long time. Yes, Mark? Why don't we give our own grandson a proper wedding?"
What's the onion? Cuddling.
Lily was crying with happiness, and she couldn't believe that her mom and dad had been found. It was unbelievable. She finally hugged her mother and answered, "What's the holdup? Let's go right now. Will Andy be surprised? He won't believe it." So the three of them packed up and drove to Lily's house. Andy had just gotten home from school and was eating dinner. The boy was surprised to see his mother and two older people. He jumped up and said hello. "Mommy, do we have company? Good evening. I'm Andy. Come on in. I'll organize tea in a jiffy," as I knew I'd bought some delicious cookies. Lily took her son by the hand. "Let me introduce you, son. These are my real parents and your own grandparents, Elizabeth and Mark Davis. I really just found out myself today." Andy froze in place, blinking rapidly. "Wow. But you always said I only had one grandmother, and she died before I was born. We go to her grave, don't we?" "How then?" Lily fluttered her arms. "It's a long story, son. Grandma will tell it to you now. I'll get the table ready in a jiffy. We need to celebrate." Lily went to the common kitchen and began to set the table, and when she returned, involuntarily smiled. After all, young people are quicker to adapt and take in the news than people of age. My son was sitting on the sofa and was babbling on, showing his grandparents his scrapbook. That's me, 5 years old, being taught to ride a bike by my mom. Oh, I fell that time. I knocked out 2 teeth, and that's my graduation. And this is Michelle, my fiancée. Isn't she beautiful? First time I saw her, I was too scared to even get to know her. I could hardly face it. I'll introduce you too. She's wonderful, and you'll love her. We're waiting for you at the wedding. It's the kind of news my friends would swoon over. Mom, I think I look a little like Grandpa. Look at the profile. I have the same crooked nose and the same eyebrows. Then the 4 of us sat down to dinner. We talked a lot and drank a little red wine. It was such a wonderful and heartwarming time. Lily had the feeling that she had known Mom and Dad all her life, that they were soulmates, that's all. Jennifer jumped when she heard such terrific news. "Congratulations, my friend. And you didn't want to go. Oh my God, it's like a soap opera. You're the daughter of millionaires now, so your matchmakers will shut you up in a jiffy. Tomorrow we're going to pick out a new dress for you. Now you can have your fun." Lily asked Andy not to tell Michael's parents anything yet, but only to give the necessary money for the banquet through her son. They only murmured, "Did they really get it together? They must have borrowed money from all over the world." The groom's mother will be there wearing a dress from a cheap sale, and she'll be wearing glass. It's a shame. And what does our Michelle see in that beggar? She's an idiot. She's ruining her life with her own hands. In the meantime, Lily and her parents had a genetic test done, and the results were ready in 3 days. As expected, the relationship was confirmed. Then they went together to the bank, showed the director the certificate of her sister's death and the documents of inheritance. The heirs took the contents of the deposit box and found the very same family jewels of their grandmother. The banker gave out all the money from the deposit together with the interest. It turned out to be a very impressive sum. Elizabeth Davis hesitated and said, "Our daughter, Krista, still managed to keep all the family treasures intact in spite of the desperate situation. Being terminally ill, She did not lose heart and did not lose heart and did not touch the jewels. Her cursed husband would have drank away every last gold earring. She had done everything right. Now let that money and jewelry be our gift to you, Lily, and our grandson. You deserve it. I hope it helps you in life. And we will definitely be there for the wedding. We'll meet you there. For the first time in her life, Lily allowed herself to get a manicure, a haircut, and makeup. She wanted to feel like a queen for once, instead of a cleaning lady. And so the day of the celebration came. The bride and groom arrived and the guests were assembled. The matchmakers did not hide their gloating. Margaret Scott looked like a Christmas tree. The plump, stunted woman had put on a super expensive rhinestone dress which only accentuated the flaws of her figure. And she was wearing jewelry too. Rings, bracelets, and necklaces, all massive, expensive. All massive, expensive. The whole outfit looked rather comical. The hubby was just like her. He was as important as a peacock and had a huge beer belly. All the guests looked perplexed at the elderly, intelligent couple who were sitting in the back modestly and did not attract much attention to themselves until the time. The door of the restaurant swung open and Lily walked in. And then everyone just gasped, especially Margaret Scott. She couldn't understand what had happened to the tired woman in the cheap clothes she'd been wearing. Before her stood at least the queen. The flowing floor-length dress was so expensive and wonderful, a pleasant violet color, and the elegant stiletto shoes completed the image, making the woman even slimmer. She was not wearing much jewelry, only diamond earrings from the very collection of her grandmother, and a thin gold chain with a small pendant, the sight of which would make any jeweler go crazy. Lily's hairdresser had given her a beautiful highlights and styled her hair in a style that rejuvenated Lily by a dozen years. It was impossible to take your eyes off the woman. Lily approached the youngsters, hugging them heartily. The son whispered, "Mommy, you're great. You're beautiful." My mother-in-law is about to burst with envy. Our heroine approached Margaret, smiled charmingly, and said, "Good afternoon. Good to see you. Congratulations on our common holiday with the marriage of the children. May they be happy." The saleswoman, trying to hide her confusion, replied, "You look good. Did you rob the boutique and the jewelry store at the same time? Where'd you get that kind of luxury? You and your son are as poor as church mice, for God's sake, for God's sake." Lily didn't even waste any time talking to the boorish couple, just smiled charmingly and walked to the stage, straight to the microphone. All the guests fell silent and stared at her. The woman said, "Dear newlyweds, Sonny, Michelle, I heartily congratulate you on the most important event in life, the day of marriage. And I wish your family to be strong and friendly. I want to say that my life has not been easy. I raised my son alone, raised him on his feet, and even went to university. I worked 3 jobs, did not sleep enough, and was not ashamed to wash floors and dishes for the happiness of my child. But recently, a huge event happened in my life. I found my real parents. Please give me a round of applause." Elizabeth and Mark Davis, well-known businessmen, fashion boutique owners, and philanthropists. They have long since retired due to age, but their business is growing and thriving. Just like that, overnight, I turned from a Cinderella into the daughter of millionaires. I am eternally grateful to my parents for helping me pay for this banquet and giving me a huge amount of money. But I would like to give this money and my grandmother's family jewels to you, my son, or rather to your young family. I want you to buy a separate apartment so you don't have to endure the insults of some particularly poisonous relatives and live with them under the same roof. Remember, my son, whatever happens in your family life, the main thing is not money or riches, but mutual respect and patience, and the ability to forgive for the sake of love. And for you, son, Grandpa gives you a new car. Here are the keys. All the best to you, children. I sincerely wish you happiness." The audience erupted with great applause. The music began, and the celebration began. Everyone was discussing the phenomenal news and the generosity of the groom's mother and his relatives. "Look at that." She gave her son every penny and left nothing for herself. That's real motherly love. And everyone forgot about Margaret Scott and her husband and chuckled, knowing exactly who Lily meant when she spoke of her poisonous relatives. The merchants themselves were quiet too, realizing that they were no longer Lily's equals, not the other way around. But after a fair bit of drinking, they decided suddenly, urgently, to establish relations and began to fawn and ingratiate themselves to their sister-in-law. Margaret Scott, the sneaky Margaret Scott, was babbling on and on. "Oh, Andy's such a good guy, and smart and athletic, the kind of son-in-law you could only dream of. What a lucky little girl." But Lily quickly put her down. "Are you sick by any chance? Yesterday you were calling me a hungry girl and my son a pauper, and now you're making friends. That's how it is. I'll tell you one thing. I treated Michelle like a daughter, and I'll continue to do so no matter what happens. For me, money, unlike some people, is not the main thing in life. And I wish you would learn to see people's souls first of all, and then to measure everyone by their money. Think about it at your leisure." Many who heard the conversation murmured approvingly, "That's right. Anything can happen in life, and the rich man will knock on the poor man's door." After that, the saleswoman was silent and could not be heard at all. The wedding was a glorious affair. They danced till they dropped. At the end of the night, Andy ordered a Boston waltz especially for Grandma and gently led her in the dance. It was so sweet and touching. Lily even wept. Also, all evening, Lily was tried to be wooed by one of the guests invited from the bride's side, Nicholas. He was the owner of a small flower store. He loved his business and treated it with passion. At first sight, he fell in love with Lily without a backward glance, invited her to a slow dance, and did not take off his admiring eyes. Lily found the man very pleasant, but she was so used to loneliness that she did not even think that someone might like him. Toward midnight, the restaurant was empty and all the guests had left. The young couple decided to spend their wedding night in the hotel suite. Lily was still in the restaurant seeing off the last guests. Nicholas didn't leave either for some reason. He walked up to Lily and asked quietly, "Can I walk you home tonight? I don't want to part with you, to be honest with you. I've been a widower for 5 years and I live alone. God never gave me children. Let's go for a walk in the city at night, get some fresh air, and then we'll call a cab." Lily was taken aback and was about to plead fatigue, but then suddenly thought, when was the last time I actually walked down the street with a man? Or even been on a date at all? That's right, 20-odd years ago. What's the rush? To my empty room. Whatever happens, I'll do it. She said yes, and for good reason. It turned out to be the most wonderful night of her life. She and Nicholas wandered through the alleys in the light of the night lanterns. The night capital was mesmerizing in its beauty and bright lights. The couple chatted, holding hands, and Lily marveled, "God, how beautiful it is. And I'm still running somewhere to those damn jobs fussing. And I don't notice it at all. All lived for my son and never thought about myself." Nicholas threw his jacket over her shoulders and pulled her against him. "So maybe it's time to live a little for yourself. What do you think? I was like a frozen fish after my wife died. But then I saw you today and I was gone. You're like a star in the sky. You're like a star in the sky." The man pulled Lily to him and gently kissed her on the lips. And something in her stirred up and revived her feminine side, which had been dormant for so many years. Lily was like an electric shock, and goosebumps went through her body. They both woke up in her room, on a creaky old couch. In her arms, Lily whispered sleepily, "I'm so ashamed. What will you think of me now?" Nicholas smiled and kissed her tenderly on the shoulder. "I think you are mine now, for life and no other way." I won't let you ruin yourself in hard labor anymore, even if I'm far from being an oligarch. But I'll earn money for the two of us for sure. I want you to always smile, love, and wait for me. Be just a woman. Lily smiled blissfully, as if savoring the words, being a woman. And she'd forgotten what that was, hadn't she? She ran like a dray horse in a harness, afraid to fall behind. The woman pressed herself against Nicholas. And I won't let you go anywhere. I'll feed you plenty of borscht and meatballs, give you warmth and affection. Is that clear? They laughed for a long time, imagining their future family life, but they both realized that they could no longer be without each other. From that morning, Lily began a bright, happy streak in her life. She went to live with Nicholas in his apartment, and she began to learn to be just a woman. She literally enjoyed every day of her life. She no longer had to wake up like a mad woman at 5 in the morning and run out to sweep the yards for less people to see, and then wash the endless stream of dishes or cars. Lily now woke up to the terrific aroma of coffee and her lover's kiss, and she could afford to soak in the bathtub with fragrant foam and read a book without rushing anywhere. How touching and pleasant it was. She enjoyed making Nicholas's favorite dumplings with sour cream and watching him gorge himself on them, asking him how things were at work, and then they watched a movie together with their arms around each other. Both enjoyed these seemingly trivial family moments with inexpressible joy and pleasure. Lily had blossomed outwardly, always smiling and blushing her cheeks. My son and wife lived well too. They had bought a cozy apartment in a quiet residential neighborhood. Michelle was finishing her degree, and Andy was getting into his grandfather's business, an education that came in handy. Lily hadn't forgotten about her parents either. They often went to Krista's grave now, and they reminisced at length about her, and Lily listened to what her little sister had been like when she was alive. They often had picnics together in their parents' backyard. The men grilled meat and played golf, and the women talked about their women's business in the gazebo. There was no scandal, no swearing, no envy. And even if someone offended someone inadvertently, then immediately asked for forgiveness, and everyone immediately forgot about the unpleasant moment. 6 months later, Lily became worried because her cycle was going wrong. So she decided to go to the gynecologist to get it checked out. She thought it was menopause. Imagine her surprise when she saw Michelle in line at the doctor's office. They hugged. They talked. Michelle was blushing. You know, I must be pregnant. I'm eating like an elephant. I put on 5 pounds, and I'm sleepy. Lily's hands spluttered. Oh my goodness, this is great. Finally, I'll get to see my grandchildren too. I'm having some problems too, so I decided to get myself checked out. You'll wait for me. We'll go to a cafe and talk. Half an hour later, a dumbfounded Lily came out of the office. Michelle cheered her up. It all checks out for me. It's a girl. She's due in 3 months. Oh, Andy's going to be so excited. Lily, absent, mindedly added, me, too. Michelle laughed. What, too? Don't you get it? Lily stared at her with glassy eyes. I, too, pregnant. It's embarrassing. I'm 42 years old. How will I ever look my son in the eye? And Nicholas, Michelle jumped up and down. Wow, cool. That's awesome. Why are you getting upset? A lot of people are becoming moms at this age now, and it's okay. You love Nicholas and he loves you. It shows it's so great we're going to be registered together now, and I don't feel so scared. Can I tell Andy? I can't wait. I'll die if I don't say anything. Lily nodded absently again. You'd better tell me. I'm sure I can't talk. You should at least tell Nicholas somehow. Lily was terribly worried. She cooked baked fish, baked apple quiche, and waited impatiently for her husband from work. Nicholas, as always, kissed his beloved, but immediately noted to himself that something was wrong with Lily. He asked sternly, Honey, hi. Have you been crying? I can see that. What's the matter? Have you been to the doctor? Lily rubbed her apron and mumbled, averting her gaze. You sit down, Nicholas. Let's have dinner. I made your favorite fish with sauce. Nicholas was not in the least bit worried. Lily, what did the doctor say? Are you sick? Tell it like it is. I'm not a stranger. We'll get through this together. Come on. And then the woman suddenly burst into tears. Worse, Nicholas, I'm pregnant. I don't know how it happened. I thought it was menopause, and then, what do we do now? Nicholas could not believe what he heard and almost screamed. What to do? Rejoice, of course. I never dared to dream of such happiness. I gave up on it a long time ago. It's crazy, our baby will be born soon. Lily roared even louder. That's not all the news. Michelle is also pregnant. I met her at the clinic today. What a shame. Mother-in-law and daughter-in-law will be walking around with bellies. They'll laugh. Nicholas began to hug and kiss Lily. I don't give a damn about anybody else's life. Who cares about anybody else's life? A child is a gift from God. And it's not just a gift. I'll carry you in my arms. I'll blow the dust off, and I'll love our baby more than life. Don't worry. I'm here for you. And I'm happy for Andy and Michelle. It's about time they had kids. Over the weekend, everyone gathered in Lily's parents' backyard, and over the holiday table they announced such wonderful news to them. Elizabeth Davis even wept and clapped her hands. That's wonderful. What good news. We have a double addition to our small family so far. Ah, well done, men. Lily cautiously asked her son, do you mind? You're not angry. Because I'm embarrassed and ashamed, because I'm already of age. Andy hugged his mother tenderly. What age, Mommy? You're still a hoo-ha-ha. I am sincerely glad that you are happy, loved, and Nicholas even shines. On the contrary, it's cool. Yes, and I'm for Michael will not be so afraid, because she is still young, experienced, and you're just us just to teach everything. Everyone raised their glasses in friendship and drank, some of the juice and some of the wine. And then we ate fragrant kebab and had a fun family vacation. 3 generations, 3 families, 3 destinies intertwined into one. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Subscribe to the channel. Like it, write comments if you like the story, and see you on the channel.